Our guest today is Reno De Luzio from the Town Meeting Study and Improvement Committee. Welcome, Reno. Nice to have you here.
Thanks for having me, Kevin.
And I know you want to talk about the pre-town meeting.
Yes, one of the enumerated duties of the Town Meeting Study and Improvement Committee, which was established in October of 2017, was to conduct and organize and conduct a pre-town meeting forum.
And you did, the first one was, if I'm not mistaken, was for last October's
That's right.
special town meeting.
Yep, that's right.
So this is the first for an annual.
Yes. So this one will be a little bit different. But in October was our first run at it, and we in the committee thought it went over pretty good for the first one. I think we had about 50 people to attend.
If I remember, you did. Yeah,
around
I was
there.
there.
Yep. And the pre-town meeting forum has two purposes. The first one is to give town meeting members and the public an opportunity to ask questions about a particular article that's in the warrant, because you know, as being moderator, that the town meeting is not a question and answer forum. It is a debating forum.
Right.
There are questions that can be asked, but the moderator usually moves on to you give your view of the article.
Right.
Yeah. So this is an opportunity for town meeting members and the public to ask questions.
So, for example, why does the park department need a new truck?
Right.
Why does the fire, and that's a real article on there, and why does the fire department need a new staff car?
Yes.
And then they'll find out the answers.
Right. And you know, detailed questions behind that too.
Right.
So it's a more informal way. In fact, when the town, we did a survey of town meeting members in 2017, and that survey, one of the comments that came back from that survey was that people are somewhat disappointed that they can't ask questions at the town meeting. So this committee, in forming the enumerated duties that town meeting eventually approved, was to organize this pre-town meeting.
I happen to think it's a great idea, because as you and I were discussing before we began the show, you know, I live in Mendon where there's an open town meeting, and 90% of the dialogue is, why are we doing this?
Yes.
Questions.
Right.
Or is that the low bidder? Or, you know, why now and not next year, as opposed to, I'm in favor, I'm not in favor because of.
That's right.
So I like the idea, and I wish my town would do it.
Well, now the second objective is that, benefit, it gives the sponsor an opportunity to hear these questions, because this happens a week before town meeting.
Right.
And for he or she to go back and fine-tune their presentation to address the question even before it's asked.
Because you now know what people are asking.
What's in their mind, yeah.
Right.
So it has a two-barrel benefit.
Okay, now there's one thing I want to do right at the beginning of the show. You want people to tell you and your committee what articles that are on the May warrant you'd like to discuss at that forum.
Yes.
So that you know which ones should be, you're not going to deal with all 20, whatever it is, 6 of them. How do people get in touch with you and the committee to give that opinion? Okay,
we have a press release that got published in the Milford Daily News yesterday, and
it will be in our next issue.
The unfortunate thing is that your next issue is after April 10th.
Correct.
So we're asking for town meeting members and the public to look at the warrant, which is now on the town's website, and pick those articles they think they want to ask questions against, and submit them to us. And in that press release, they send an email to the town meeting committee's email address,
which is also up on the town website.
That's yeah. In fact, our committee has a particular page on the website where all our contact information is there.
And if I'm not mistaken, if you go to the Town of Milford website, and on the home page there's a button that says Town Meeting. If you click on that, then your button is on the right side of the page for the committee.
That's correct.
You can tell I went and checked right before this.
I'm glad you did. So anyway, so the warrant is there. town meeting members. In fact, we also sent an email to all of the town meeting members who have email addresses with an announcement letter and telling them how to do this particular aspect.
Unlike the fall town meeting, which is a lot of capital expensive items, you only have one or two things that I don't call routine, but you have the budget. Do you anticipate a lot of people wanting to ask about the budget?
Well, yeah, that's going to be somewhat difficult because the budget is not available yet. It won't become available until...
it will be by the time of your pre-town meeting.
No, our pre-town meeting is, oh yeah, it will, but it will have passed the forum.
Well, it'll pass the time.
The time for them to give us articles. We have a process we have to go through to select the articles. And the way we do that is that once we get all the articles, we select probably not more than 10, and in the order in which we get the most responses.
I remember last October, the most questions were about the zoning change that allowed for the self-service gas.
That's right.
Which took until, actually, I don't know if they have the pump yet. We're in late March here. I think it's late March, early April, when his zoning challenge runs out, and he'll start putting it down there on Route 85. But that was the one the most questions were asked on. This year, the only zoning on the annual warrant has to do with the hanging signs in the downtown district.
But you never know what's going to be controversial.
Well, I always have a rule, which is the most innocuous or innocent-looking article on the warrant is usually the one where you spend an hour debating.
That's it.
And the budget, as you know, which in Milford is over 100 million, the budget sails through with maybe one question.
Yes.
Or none, but somebody wants to spend an hour on one little article. I can't pick which one that's going to be.
Well, at the October pre-town meeting forum, we had questions, quite a few questions on a liquor license, which is mostly routine every town meeting, but there were
there is another liquor license on this one?
So you never know. I can remember one town meeting we spent more than a half an hour arguing about chicken coops. You know, where should they go in what zoning districts? That was a very, we thought that would be a no-brainer, but you never know.
That's true.
So anyway, the only fair way to do it is to get the responses, and then we rank them by the highest.
Now, I'd like to give your committee some credit, because after you guys did that survey, the town improved the sound quality in the upper town hall dramatically. They put in a whole new sound system, which works.
No, wait, that was before.
Okay, but it was still identified by town meeting members, if not your committee.
Well, it was identified that the problem is the experience is not yet up to snuff.
Okay. So what I have to ask you then about is, are you going to push for improving the visual quality of people's presentations?
Well, that's in the works.
Okay.
The selectmen have charged the town administrator to pursue that, and he is now investigating the options of how to do that at Upper Hall. Okay. So our committee has left the administrator to bird dog that issue.
You're also working on the other one I'm going to ask you about, which is electronic voting.
Oh yeah, I didn't know you were going to ask me about that. Yeah, but
you guys are studying that.
Yeah, because in the survey we had a question: would you like us to study the electronic voting? And we have done that. Steve Treadle is the subcommittee chairman on that, and he's done a lot of research. Natick has done a lot of research.
Natick, Brookline,
right?
They have the little clicker and they vote.
Yes, yes.
And you have an instantaneous thing, and you don't really have to count the hands up anymore.
No, and and the software is quite flexible. In other words, there's another feature in electronic voting, because another issue in the survey was people concerned that they don't get recognized by the moderator. Our moderator, Mike Norfrey, does the best he can. He looks out over the audience.
I will tell you, though, having served in the position in my town, there are often times you don't see somebody in the back of the room.
I know.
They don't shout out loud enough.
Right.
And I'll also tell you, when you're doing the voice vote, it sounds like in the audience, like an overwhelming yes or no. When you're up on the stage, it's much harder to gauge if it indeed were a yes or no, and you tend to ask for a hand count. I just want to point that out. So.
Yeah, but electronic voting obviously addresses that problem, because you can ask for electronic voting in
but with a clicker, you could say, I want to be heard as well.
You can, yeah. So there are a number of features you could buy with electronic voting.
That's interesting.
And the two sides of the coin, though, are that some people don't mind recording their individual vote. Others want their vote to be confidential.
Right.
So that's going to be a debate we're going to have as to whether or not what feature we
I know in the
recommend.
I know in the Mass State House, U.S. Congress, it actually lights up with your name that you voted.
Yes.
I don't think you could fit 340 something names up on the town hall wall. Wouldn't it just be easier to say the vote's over and there's 100 yes and 20 no?
Right. But the issue is, do you want to keep the individual vote as a record, so somebody can look at that record and see how my precinct member voted?
Oh, that's true.
That's
that's something you're going to have to
yeah,
work out.
we've had the committee invited one of the technology firms to come in, and they gave us a demonstration.
Okay. Let's go back to the forum though.
Yes.
So you had about 50 people last time. This being the annual with the operating budget, even though you won't know what it is right now, do you anticipate a larger crowd, a smaller crowd?
Well, we're hoping for a larger crowd. We have a pretty good blitz for publicity in this town meeting, and hopefully the town meeting, I said this at my last interview here, was that, not with you, but with Al Crier, you can lead a horse to water, but you can't make them drink. So we're trying our best to inform the town meeting members how important this is and that they should participate.
Well, that's why we have you on in addition to Al. And
right, that's
we'll
right.
also have you in the print version of the paper,
yes, right.
And the Daily News is covering it, because I think it is important that people go. It's a step to learning what's going on. And if you're not a town meeting member, which you mentioned, I think it's equally important that that you can learn what's going on and then talk to your precinct's town meeting members and say, I don't like that or I like that.
Yeah, and so we think it's a positive step for improving the town meeting. As I said at the beginning in proposing this issue to the town meeting, that we have to make an effort to try to improve it and preserve it for the next generation, because I personally would hate to see the town meeting disappear.
It is.
Some towns have now opted out.
I will tell you, having grown up in a city with the city councilors or aldermen, whatever you want to call them, and a mayor, form of government, you never even thought of going to a government meeting if you didn't like something. And half the time, until you read the local newspaper, you didn't know what they voted on.
Yeah.
At least here, this is a vital form of democracy that is, maybe the other people don't. Once you get outside of New England, you don't have this kind of forum around the rest of the country.
No, you don't. We're unique.
The colonial town meeting came out of the experience in as the colonies were settled,
right.
And it gave people an opportunity to speak on issues. And what I like about it is people may not agree with what I say. People may think I'm crazy with what I say, but I get to stand up and have my say.
That's right.
And if like I said, and then I can go home and say, I had my say. The town voted this way or that way, but I got my say.
Right.
It is democracy, because quite honestly, you don't get it once you get above the town level.
That's true. That's true.
And obviously, you'd want to see that. I mean, the next step up would be for Milford would be sort of a town council, town manager form of government, and that would go away.
Yeah, that's true.
And the town council would be doing the voting.
Yeah.
And so you still at least have a great opportunity. And I salute you guys, because you're trying to foster that going on.
Well, we're going to keep at it. Now, this pre-town meeting forum has rules. I mean, we just can't have it freewheeling.
Right.
So we've last October and improved them for this pre-town meeting forum, ground rules.
Yes.
And the sponsors, once the articles are selected, then we'll notify the sponsors.
Right.
And they hopefully will show up.
Right.
And their primary responsibility is to briefly, within 3 minutes, not read the articles because they're quite long, some of them,
right,
but just to describe the content and the purpose of the article, and then just open up for questions.
Quite honestly, some of them have a lot of legal language in that you may need explained to people.
Yeah, hopefully people ask for clarification.
I know there's one on the warrant that's identical to one that was on the October warrant, except for one word, because the Attorney General asked that one word be changed before they'd approve it.
Yeah. So the sponsor has, and we also advocate both sides, we also suggest on both sides that you don't advocate for or against the article.
Right.
It's meant to be a question and answer session, so keep the debate for the town meeting.
Right.
But in some cases you can't avoid it, because you ask a question and the answer is positive or negative. to
Right.
that. But Mike Nofri really keeps the guardrails in to make sure people don't spend all their time
Right.
advocating
So
for or against.
So town moderator Mike Nofri is also the moderator of the pre-town forum.
Right, he's agreed to do it again. He did a
Good.
very fine job
He does a
in
great
October.
job on it.
Right. So that's in place. And then if there are slides that are going to be presented, or if there are going to be handouts, we suggest how many handouts should be provided.
Right.
And the way the speaking goes is that we'll have 2 microphones, one on each aisle, and then people will line up behind the microphones. They're not divided for or against. It's just two
Right.
rows of microphones. And you can ask a question. If the answer to that question is not satisfactory, you can ask a follow-up question. But you can't stand up there and ask 5
Right.
questions.
Eventually, you go to the back of the line.
And then you
if
go to the
wanna
back
come
of the
forward
line,
again.
you get the next person to have a chance.
But you also know if you're looking at 10 or 12 articles in the pre-town meeting form, you also have to step through them within a given time
Oh, yeah.
frame.
We're trying to limit to an hour and a half, or something like that, if we can. If people want to stay longer,
Right.
in fact, we'll hopefully have 10, but we'll have a couple of more in case there's time to fill in, or people want to stay longer and address a few more. But basically, we're going to target for no more than 10.
There's a few interesting articles on there.
Two of them, we've never.
Well,
it's
2 of
new
them are
for us.
citizens petitions.
Right.
So one of them is to increase the number of selectmen from
Right.
3 to 5.
Yeah.
And the guy who petitioned that, Mike Suarez, has met with the selectmen at their last meeting or 2 meetings ago and talked about why he did it.
Mhm.
And the other one is to move the town election from April to November.
Yeah.
And that's an interesting one because obviously more people voted last November
Oh, yeah.
than voted in the, you're averaging between 15 and 18% in April.
Yeah.
But if you don't have a state or federal election in November,
Yeah.
you're probably going to drop the attendance back down, or the number of people voting.
Sure. Yeah.
But they're both very interesting proposals.
Yeah. Right. So hopefully there'll be questions on both of those.
Right.
So that's basically, the ground rules are very basic, but they are ground rules.
That's true.
Yeah.
So let's just talk a little bit about the other things your committee's doing.
Well, yeah, we have a,
You've got a whole bunch of things. As you know, I drop in every now and then to your meetings when
Yes.
I'm leaving another one. You're usually at the end. But I always look at the agendas, they're very long, and you're looking at a lot of things from voting to, you're basically trying to keep the town meeting process alive and vital.
that's right. And the survey ended up producing some 20 topics
And
for
you're,
improvement.
and you're going down all of them.
And then the committee is organized in 7 subcommittees. Now, they're thinly staffed. Right? We started with this committee in October 17, and there were 25 applicants, because you fill out an
Right.
application to be considered as a member, and the moderator appoints
right.
appoints the members. And there are 9, one from each of the 8 precincts, and one other to make an odd number.
Right.
All right, so we have 9, and then there were 16 applicants sitting on the shelf. So I said to self and the committee that got appointed, we have talent here and people interested. We ought to bring them in some fashion and
To a
have them
subcommittee.
participate. Yeah. So in the bylaw that was established, these applicants can serve on subcommittees. The subcommittee has to be chaired
Right.
by a committee member. So we captured some, not all, and then we've had some turnover that got rid of a few. So now we have 7 subcommittees against 20 tasks. And then the other 3-dimensional matrix of this thing is that some people aren't interested in working on some of these topics. So I had to match people's interests, because you don't want to assign people to things they don't really want to have interest in, right?
No, because
So-
it's volunteer, not work.
Right. So now we're thinly staffed, and we really instituted a recruitment effort now, a positive recruitment effort. And Bart Lawless, who's our vice chair,
Right.
he's spearheading that. So we're personally contacting town meeting members to participate. I am convinced that in 240 members, there's a lot of talent at that meeting.
Absolutely.
But the issue is, it's very hard to get people to commit to a regular meeting schedule and all the paperwork that has to go on with open meeting law and all of that stuff. But if we can, in fact, we just instituted a new category of participants, and they're called consultants. So for those who don't want to fill out an application and be formally part of this committee and participating applicants, I
Right.
call them, if we have a particular topic that requires some expertise,
you'll go find them and drag them in.
they're signing up, and in fact, they've got a couple of them on tap that said they will contribute to that level, but they can't get to a regular schedule because everybody has a busy life today.
Right.
So we're trying to expand this base. In fact, I like this. I like the backbench to be a little deeper than it is now. So now, one other thing that the participating applicants do who participate is that when we have a resignation from the committee, they're fully up to speed because most of them attend all the meetings.
So you basically trained them.
So you just move right in without a learning curve and without skipping a beat.
That's a great idea.
Yeah, but it wasn't easy to put that three-dimensional matrix together to satisfy everybody. But we managed to do it. So the bottom line is we have more on our plate now than we can swallow. So.
Okay. Well, you have achieved some things already. Last year's meeting, I think you had 3 or 4 articles that passed that were procedural, but they're slowly changing the meeting.
Yeah, it's tough to change habits.
I know.
People, the town hall has its own way of doing things.
Well, I just tell everybody, look at all the people still making a left turn into the old Kmart Plaza.
That's right.
And you can't change habits.
It's hard to change culture, I should say.
Right.
And it's always been. And so we hope we don't overreach too much and make changes that are meaningful and will show a difference as time marches on.
Well, I think they are slowly. And again, this pre-town meeting is a great example because before last October, if you had questions, you had to wait till the town meeting if you were a town meeting member or listen to gossip around town.
Yeah, right, yeah.
And if you weren't a town meeting member, you really didn't have a place to go.
No, and I want to emphasize that this committee is a town meeting committee. It's a voice of the town meeting. And we're open to suggestions of, we have the survey that's guiding us now, but if, in fact, a person came in last meeting or the meeting before with a proposal, and they asked us, our committee, to consider it. And we took that in, we took it under consideration, and we'll consider moving it forward to town meeting. So it's the committee is for the purpose of, in fact, there's a catch-all in one of our enumerated duties for anything else the committee, the town meeting decides the committee to do.
So it's sort of like that little phrase at the end of every warrant article, or acted in relation thereto.
Yes, that's right, yes.
So you get to do it that way.
Yeah.
All right.
So that's where we are.
Okay, so let's repeat again. We've got a couple of minutes left.
Okay.
If you want one of the town meeting articles to be discussed at the pre-town meeting forum, by April 10th, you want people to go to the Town of Milford's website, click on the town meeting button on the right, click on the button on the right for you guys, and there's a place for them to email their suggestion to you.
Yeah, and the warrant is on
and the warrant is there too.
Right, so yes.
And you'd like that by April 10th.
That's right, yep.
Okay.
Yep.
The date of the pre-town meeting is?
May 15th.
Which should be
the week before, the Wednesday before the town meeting,
I was going to say Tuesday or Wednesday. The Wednesday before, and that's your forum's going to be at Upper Town Hall.
It will be, yes.
Okay, and then the following Monday is the regular meeting.
Town meeting, right.
Now it's 7 o'clock.
Yes, we moved
that.
Which
you did change.
That's right, we did, yes. And we also instituted a stop at 10 o'clock, and it's
depending on a vote.
To have a vote to continue or to stop the meeting.
Because if I remember in October, you passed that and they actually voted to keep going because there were only one or two articles left. Yeah. But at least that gives people the choice of, do I stay here till midnight? Or if you've got 2 articles left and it's 10 o'clock, let's stay and get it done with.
And the problem was, the inconvenience was that before we made that change to make it a positive stop, it was up to an individual to have the courage to stand up and say, that's enough, let's go home. And they're looking at their neighbor beside of them.
Who's already left.
Well, sort of.
No, but people who don't go to town meetings don't realize it's very hard to be that one of 250 people to stand up and say, I'd like to end the meeting. Yeah. And everybody around says, no.
Yeah, I know. But now this stops it at 10, and we hope for the most part we'll only have one night. But some towns have, they go 4 or 5 nights.
Well, I still remember 30 and 40 years ago when the annual town meeting warrant in Milford had, 80 articles.
Yes, right.
Now you have, I think there's 26 on this one.
Yeah.
And, most of them are routine to the sense that they're done every year. I don't want to call them routine like they don't involve anything. They do, but like the one for, letting the selectmen be in charge of legal matters.
Well, you know,
That's on every
we
year.
changed that too, because now,
Now it's on a consent calendar.
no, but we proposed to the selectmen, because that's under the selectmen's jurisdiction to create the warrant.
And there are 7 or 8 under one, or I think it's Article
Right, we
5.
bunched them, we
Right.
bunched them out on the one article, and then a town meeting member, just like the budget, they can pull anyone out,
Right.
and then we hold that for debate. But now they just all list, unless.
But instead of 7 separate votes and 7
so,
motions,
yeah,
you,
separate,
you,
yeah, so
have, you have one and people
we're
can hold it.
trying to make the meeting more efficient too.
Well,
for
you know, the
these small
moderator has 2 jobs. Okay, first is to try to let everybody be heard.
things. Yes,
But the second job, which they teach you when you go to moderator class
Yeah.
for the Mass Moderators Association, is to keep the meeting moving.
yeah, oh, yeah,
So actually compressing 7 annual votes that are usually positive every year
sure,
into one vote is a positive thing
Right.
because it leaves more time for people to debate the things they really want to talk
that's right,
about.
yep,
And if you save 20 minutes by not having 6 separate motions and seconds and
sure,
people getting up,
Mhm.
that's 20 minutes that are available
Yep.
for debate later on. So
That's
that's to me, that's a positive thing.
so far, we think everything has been positive, but,
Right.
well, the one thing I didn't expect any pushback on was the Pledge of Allegiance. We proposed that before the meeting, we say the pledge, it was voluntary, you don't have to stand up and do it, and we got some no votes. I can hear people behind me voting no.
Well,
But you don't expect those kinds, but that's what democracy is all about.
you don't, but again, if people want to vote no, I mean,
That's right, yeah,
you know, that's probably where they want to keep their name secret.
yes, sure, maybe, I don't know.
So, you know, 20 years from now, you voted against the Pledge of Allegiance, but I really don't know. But the fact of the matter is, you got the pre-town meeting. We're going to plug it again. It is Wednesday, May 15th,
Right,
7
7
o'clock.
o'clock, Upper Town Hall.
7 o'clock, Upper Town Hall.
Yeah.
Everybody's invited, whether you're a town meeting member or
Right.
not.
It's open to the public,
And again, you're looking for what people want to ask questions about by April 10th. So the best way to do that is go to the town's website. There's a town meeting button on the right. You press that. On one side is I think is the town clerk's side is on the left. Your side's on the right. Keep clicking through and you get your email. How am I doing?
great, that's good. Yeah, thank you very much, Kevin.
All right. And we're out of time.
Oh, that's good.
So basically, any last words?
No, just show up.
All right, Rita. Thank you very much.
Okay.